Okay, this I have to show you by the sink. What I'm going to do is put together some algae for the fish. And today we're going to use some brown marine algae by Ocean Nutrition. You take a piece of this stuff and cut it in half. You end up with a piece about like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach it to a 1-inch clear rigid tubing that's got some rubber bands on it. So let's see if we can do that here. You just put it on there and roll it up. Fix the rubber bands. And the more rubber bands you put on, the less likely the fish will tear off big pieces. And get another rubber band here. These are available. These rubber bands are available at the local fish store. They use them for a lot of them use them for tying up the plastic bags for shipment. Okay, now we'll just I got some RO water in a spritzer. And we'll just wet that down. And then we'll wait about 5 minutes, and then we'll put some silicone on there and let that soak in. I'll just leave that for 5 minutes or so. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. What I'm going to add is the silicone. Comes in this plastic bottle with a little maroon clownfish on it. It's a vitamin mix, perfect for the tangs. We'll just take a little bit of it, and we'll rub it right into the algae. And since I soaked it with water, the silicone will just soak right in. If you don't do that first, if you use dry seaweed, it'll just roll off. It's kind of hard to get the silicone to soak in real good. And then we're going to let that just go. I just put a drop on and then just rub it in. And we'll let that sit for another 5-10 minutes, and then we'll go down and put that into the tank. Okay, now I can put the seaweed into the tank and have the tangs go after it. So you can see with this method, the tangs get a lot of surface area to go after the algae. You can see they've almost eaten it all already. Plus, it's easy to get the vitamin mix on there. And big pieces don't shed off like you have with a clip. And you don't have to get your hands in there, and the clip doesn't fall to the bottom, etc., etc., etc. I guess there was one piece that they ripped off. Well, if you put more rubber bands on, they won't see that big piece down there. They won't do that if you put enough rubber bands on. Also, if you let it soak longer, I only left it go for 5 minutes or so. But if you let it soak longer, it'll break out much more easier, and the fish can bite off smaller chunks. I wanted to show you a tiger tail cucumber, and he's in the cave right now. He's kind of in the shade. You can see him here. and he poops. He poops out sand that he's ingested, and these are the little piles behind him are the little pieces of sand that he poops out. And it's all been processed by his gullet, mainly microfauna and bacteria and so forth. Okay, I'm getting ready to do some propagation. The coral I've been propagating the most recently is this big green Aquapora. And you'll notice now the middle branches are quite long. And what I want to do is take a couple of them and cut them close to the base. So I have about 4 or 5 inch branches. So I have like a 3 or 4 inch branch, and then lay that sideways on a live rock and glue it down. And see if I can't, by doing that, if I can't increase the encrusting area that the coral attaches with. Let me show you a cutting to show you what I mean. Okay, this is a cutting from that coral that's a few months old, probably 3 or 3.5 months old. And you can see it's rather nice looking. However, there's not much of a base. It just took off and grew branches without developing a very large base. And that's somewhat unnatural looking. Let me show you what the base looks like here. You can see there how the tissue has covered the live rock there at the base. And what I want to do is make a cutting that will give more tissue coverage at the base and look a little more natural. And what I plan to do is, like I said, try taking a cutting of a longer branch of that same coral and laying it down sideways and gluing it. I've got another sample up here that's really awful in terms of how it grew. You can see that thing looks like some kind of a cactus or something. And you can see there's very little tissue at the base. See that? But lots of branch growth. And that's not what I want. I want to have that coral be a heavy base with branches coming out. So that's one goal. I'm going to show you 2 more corals I want to propagate today. Another coral I want to propagate right now is this green Fiji Aquapora. And what I think I want to do is take off some of these bottom branches down in here, which frankly aren't doing well because they're not getting very much light in the middle there, and cut them right where the tissue begins to die off. And you're looking through 3 feet of water, so it's a little bit hazy, but I want to get those bottom branches that don't get much light and see if I can't propagate them and see how they do. In this case, I'll just cut them off about 3/4 of an inch, and then maybe 3 or 4 of them, and stick them on a rock, vertical. The other coral I'm interested in is this one, this brown Aquapora here, mostly because it's growing large enough now to be interfering with nearby corals. An example of that is right in here where it's gotten to the Murulina. And you can see there's some dead tissue. I don't know how close I can get here, but you can see there's dead tissue there where it's touching. So I'll probably clip that branch off there on the right of the brown Aquapora. And there's also one in front here that's coming close to the Hydropora below it. And so we'll take 3 or 4 off of that and see if we can't get them started. Okay, I'm ready to start propagating now. I'm going to take a pair of diagonal cutters, and I'm going to go in and cut a couple of branches off the coral you see in front of you, that green branching coral. And I would suggest you take your diagonal cutters and clean them up real good before you go in so there's no oils or rust there to transfer onto the tissue. You'll find I also wear surgical gloves now when I do my propagation. That keeps the oils from the hand from getting on the tissue and spreading terrestrial bacteria onto the tissue as well. And in addition, in the end, it'll keep my fingers from getting glued to the corals. Okay, so let's go in. I turned off the wave maker so I can get a good look from the top. I'm just going to reach down and I'm going to cut several frags and put them in a small Tupperware dish and with tank water. And I'm going to transfer them upstairs, and there we'll do the fragging, the gluing and whatnot. So hold on just a minute. Okay, so that's a pair of cuttings, and after I've done that, I'll now clean the diagonal cutters off real good in our oil water to prevent further rusting, and then we'll go upstairs and glue them. Okay, well, earlier this week I got some rock rubble, live rock rubble from my local fish store, and I put it here, put the pieces here in a bucket of salt water from the tank. It's an IO salt bucket, and what we'll do is set up here. This is my kitchen island. You can see here's my logbook to take notes. I've got some paper toweling, paper plates, the frags, the rocks to the right, and then over there is a little tube of super glue. Right up in there. And we're going to go ahead and see what we can do with this. I'm going to get a little closer and a little more vertical on that. Okay, well, what I want to do is the flat one first. What I think I want to do is cut it in half. I'll find a decent rock here to do this on. This looks like a pretty good candidate. It's a pretty flat looking rock, so I can put, I can lay that frag down flat and in two places. So I'm going to cut that, one of the long ones. I not only have one surgical glove, the other hand is free to work. We're going to take the frag that didn't have any additional branching at the top. I've got two frags. You can see them in here. And we'll take the one that's long and doesn't have additional branches affiliated with it, and we'll cut it. We'll cut it in half, and then we'll put a couple dabs of glue down and put mount two frags flat. The first thing I want to do is get the rock dry on the top. You can see there's no coloration on the rock, so the coral and algae has died off pretty good. This is rubble that had been sitting at the local fish store curing tank for probably years.